to the Intuitive Messenger channel. This is the interview series with Sherri Cortland, my dear friend, who I have had the privilege of literally being in physical contact with before. So many people that I do this with, we know each other from the etheric Facebook world. So hello, Sherri, how are you?
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, we've been talking for like almost 20 minutes already, and we started a second ago, and I was like, I didn't press record. So we're off to a good high vibrational start. And actually this morning, my recording that I did for my daily YouTube channel, when I hit stop and I went to just find it, it was gone, just gone. So getting off to that good start, maybe that was a reminder for me to make sure I get this done.
Is Mercury in retrograde again?
No, it's out. It's done. It's out. We're good. We're good. So let's go ahead and dive in and tell everybody who you are and kind of a little bit of your journey to this point right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's huge. Yeah, get that coffee out. You know, I'm nobody special, and that's the thing that I really want to get across to everybody. I started out, like most people, reading other people's books. And Ruth Montgomery, just so huge to me.
These are your books. I read your books. We'll talk about those in a minute.
Okay. And I started out with Ruth Montgomery, and Ruth was just such a huge thing for me. And that's where I first learned about automatic writing. I had never really heard about that before. And I love the way that she would just sit down in her kitchen. I'm talking as if I had seen it, but I didn't. I've only read about it. Sat down at her kitchen table and wrote with her guide, Lily. And I thought that was amazing. And after a while, after reading all of her books and after reading Shirley MacLaine and other authors, I got to the point where I wanted the experience for myself. I wanted to have that direct connection with spirit. I never set out to write books at all. So that's what I did. I tried and tried and tried. I sat at my kitchen table for about 3 months, holding that pen to the paper. Absolutely nothing happened. And then one night I was in a psychic development class. And every week we would study a different aspect of metaphysics. And then one night the teacher announced, tonight we are going to do automatic writing. And snarky little me, I said, that's never going to happen for me. Wham! Something grabbed a hold of my arm, and the next thing I knew, I was drawing so magnificent little figure eights and circles. It was really crazy. And my teacher said from across the room, she yelled, Sherri, control it. And I said, control it? I don't know how to control it. We haven't had the class yet. I'm still being snarky as my hand is going a mile a minute. And everybody in the class is just watching. I'm watching. And it was just the most amazing thing. And then that was my very first contact. And that was my guide, Jeremy. And then over the next couple of weeks, you know, the figure eights and circles became words. And then I was able to get a lot of great personal information to help me on my journey. So that's how I got started.
You know, something just recently there's been a post on Facebook from people I kind of connect with, and they started talking about, someone said to the effect, and this is beautiful for you, to the effect of, you know, so many years ago, 20, 30 years ago, they read Out on a Limb by Shirley MacLaine, who you just referenced. She said, and it changed my life. And the reason this woman was saying that is because she said, for those of you who create decks, for those of you who write books, for those of you who are videoing and vlogging every day, your work is making a difference. It may be 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 years later. So you who have written books, your work is making a difference. And this is windows of opportunity, and this is raising our vibration for the new age. And I told you this beforehand, but I probably have quoted you more than any other author. You know, people who watch me, if you hear me say, there's a window of opportunity. If you hear me say, get out that window of opportunity before you get to the penthouse. If you hear me say relationship villain, these are all because of you, Sherri Cortland. So I'm quoting you, and you've made a difference in my life and my work, and then the people that I work with. So, you know, your guides and everybody's making a huge difference.
You know how to make a girl smile. That's perfect.
But I thought that was so, you know, and I think to myself, you know, every day I sit down and make a video that takes me about 45, 50 minutes to make. And I know people are watching it because I can see the statistics, but I don't know how far reaching that is. So, yeah, you know, that was a great thing for me to hear as well. So tell us about, so you got, that's your wake up call.
Yes.
And I love that story. I've heard it many, many times, but I love it, love it, love it every time. And for those of you watching, her story is consistent. It's the same every time. Because some people, their stories change. So tell us about, we just mentioned your books. Tell us where your books started, how they came into, and the chronological order of them, and some snippets about them, because I highly recommend every single one of your books to people. I'm serious. They are beautifully written. They are poignant. They are and they're easy to read. It's like you're just talking to us, and that's what I love about that.
You are going to make me cry right now. So,
it's the truth.
You know that I did not want to write books.
Yep.
All I wanted to do was to have direct contact with my guides, get to know them. I wanted mostly to know, why are we here, and why do we have to go through the things that we have to go through? Because let's face it, there's a lot of hard times in most of our lives, and why? What's the point of this? What is the point of this? And so I went along for many years, and everything was great, and I would have different guides come through. There was Jeremy, there was Selena, there was Alexio Porak, there was Charles. He helped me with my channeling. They all had little different things that they wanted to share with me and to help me with. And then one day, and I do not remember off the top of my head what year this was, but Jeremy said, it's time to write a book. And I laughed. I just laughed, because who the heck am I to be writing a book? What am I going to write a book about? And they said, no, don't worry. We're going to dictate this information.
Wow.
And I remember saying, well, if you're going to do that, then we're going to have to switch to a computer, because with a pen and paper, doing a whole book, that's going to be a lot. Can we switch to the computer? And so we did. So that was the big move there. So that was nice. Well, I mean, I fought it for a long time. I took down all of the information, and then finally I did turn it into book, and I felt like, okay, there, I've done it. Your book is done. I've done my part, and I shoved it in a drawer. And it stayed in that drawer for a good year. And then you know that you cannot argue with spirit, right? So knock, knock, knock. They would not leave me alone. And finally I said, because I can't help it, I'm snarky, and I said, fine, I will send it out to publishers. Never in my wildest imagination dreaming that it was going to be published. And this is windows of opportunity I'm talking about now. So, yes. So I get a telephone call, and it's Dolores Cannon. Well, I didn't believe it was Dolores Cannon. I thought it was my girlfriend Heidi playing a trick on me. So for the first 10 minutes...
I know Heidi.
Yeah, you know Heidi. The first 10 minutes I'm talking to Dolores Cannon, I'm thinking it's Heidi, and I'm like, oh, yeah, just going on. And finally I realized, oh my gosh, this really is Dolores Cannon. She really does want to publish my book. And then I was just so quiet, I could barely even speak. I was like overcome. So anyway, boom, the book was out. And then I was scared, Mitchell. I was scared because I'm the director of specialty sales for Westgate Resorts, which is a very large company here in Orlando. And I thought, what's going to happen to me now? Am I gonna lose my job? Because with Facebook and everything, I mean, you can't keep secrets like this, that you wrote a book. I was going to use a different name, but my guide said, no, you have to use your name. So one of the things that happened, and if I'm talking too much, interrupt me here, because you know I never shut up.
I love this though. I love this. This is what people want to hear.
So anyway, one day I'm at work, and someone came up to me and said, I saw something about you on Facebook, and you wrote a book about reincarnation and karma. And I'm like, I don't really want to talk about it. And then they had questions, and they said, I'm just so happy to have somebody to talk to about this. And then people that I never ever expected to be interested in these subjects, reincarnation, spiritual growth, that kind of thing, started to come up to me and ask me questions, and I was just amazed. And you talk about how far-reaching are the effects of the things that we do, and we really never ever know. But I felt like maybe one of the reasons that I wrote that first book was because I'm just a normal, everyday girl next door. You know, I mean, there's nothing special about me. And maybe the fact that I have a regular job and I'm successful in that job helps other people to take these topics seriously, and then maybe helps them take, just say, oh, maybe there is something to it. You know, she's not strange, so to speak. And let me take another look at this. So I'm thinking that maybe that was the reason. So I took those first steps out of that spiritual closet, which were very hard for me to do. But then with the second book, Raising Our Vibrations for the New Age, I was definitely out of the closet there.
I have 2 of them.
Have 2?
We still don't know why I have 2.
That's so funny. 1 for each bathroom, right? Yeah. So with that, that kind of just took my journey a little bit further. And I'll tell you an interesting story about that book. I thought I was all finished with it. And that book goes a little bit further. It talks about, you know, the switch in the dimensional energies and how that helps us to grow spiritually and to move forward. There's a lot in there about chakras and things like that. But I thought that the book was done. And I just came back from speaking at the Transformations Conference. And I think this was like 2010. And I was just so drawn to this piece of moldavite at this conference. And I have a mess of crystals and a lot of moldavite. And I thought, I really don't need another piece of moldavite. But there was just something about it that was calling me and calling me. So anyway, I bought it. So I get home, and so it was like June, July. And I go out to my front yard, and I've got this piece of moldavite, and I'm sitting under this big oak tree out there. And then next thing I know, here comes a new guide. I haven't had a new guide in years, and here we go, new guide, Aknanda. He's Arcturian. So, okay, I know. And he said, listen, honey, I've been waiting for your vibrations to get to a certain level so that we could come through. We've got lots more for this book. You are not done with this book. And then he dictated that whole Galactic Heritage chapter.
Wow.
So the second book took on a whole new dimension. And I probably should mention this too. For the first book, it's like a collaboration. I had a guide group. You hear me talk about the GG? Yep. Because I have no imagination, and GG stands for guide group, right? So the guide group for that actually was Jeremy and Alexia Porath and Selena. But then, who do you think they would put in charge of this? My grandmother. My grandmother, who had passed over, is now in charge of this guide group. Why? Because they knew that I would obey her. Right? So when Grandma Knapp says, take that book out of that desk drawer, and I'm looking down at my desk drawer where it was, take that out of there and let's get moving, sweetheart. They knew that I would obey her and move along. They couldn't get me to move along with that book, but my grandmother could, right? So there you go. The second book, Gilbert came into play, a new guide that had come through just for that. And I'll tell you something funny about that too. We were talking about dreams before we hit record. Yeah. And the first book had just barely come out, and I really wasn't thinking about writing a second book at all. And I had this dream about some guy named Gilbert, and we were pretty close in that dream. And I was like dating close, you know? Yeah, right?
Well, you know what being pretty close in dreams means, right? It's about creating something new.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, I learned that from Patrick and Catherine Andrews.
Oh, Andrews, yeah.
So a pretty close dream is often about creating something new.
We were pretty close in this dream. And the next day, I was doing a little automatic writing with Jeremy, and I said, you know, I had this dream last night about some guy named Gilbert. And, you know, what was this all about? And Jeremy came back and said, oh, Gilbert. You and Gilbert go back a long time. You've done so many different projects together. He is going to be the main guide for your new book. And I'm like, what new book? I'm not doing a new book. So anyway, I was doing that automatic writing on computer. And every automatic writing thing I do, I save. Well, I saved it in a little file called Book 2. thinking, okay, they just told me there's going to be a second book. There was no name for it, whatever. So when that book was almost completely done and I had been working with Gilbert on it, I found this filed book 2 and went in there, and I had totally forgotten all about that, that Jeremy told us that we knew each other. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this book was predicted so long ago.
Wow.
That's why I have to write everything down. It must be my age, Mitchell. I don't know. I got to write it all. But so that was book 2. And then you told me when you were reading for me that there was going to be a 3rd book.
Yep.
Never expected it. Fought it like a mad woman. But I am most proud of this book. You wrote a whole chapter for this book. In fact, I really didn't write much of this book at all because I reached out to you, Shelley Wilson, Irene Lucas. Who else is in this book? So 6 people from this side of the veil, metaphysical professionals, and then 6 guides from the other side of the veil. And me, I was the MC. Yeah. That's all I did. I was just the MC for this book. And the reason why I love this book so much is because, you know, for me, it's all about spiritual growth.
Yeah.
What's the point of being here? Why are we here? What do we need to learn? How can we learn it fast? And how can we move forward with less drama and less pain? And in Spiritual Toolbox, the 6 of you guys, Paige Hall Ferraro, I don't want to forget her. Yes. Oh my God, the crystals, what she gave to me for crystals. So many exercises, so many meditations, you know, reaching out for those Akashic records, working on our health and well-being, which comes from you, and Shelley Wilson with the chakras, and Paige and the crystals. Everything that somebody who's just starting out on their path, it's in Spiritual Toolbox. Yeah. Like the definitions of everything that we need. I wish that there was a book like that when I was starting out. I really do.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
And everything that's in there, all of the meditations and exercises are all on a CD that comes with it. Wonderful. So that makes it much, much easier to use it. So that I think is my favorite book of the 3.
And we will make sure that in the YouTube video that this comes in, all the links to these books and your Facebook page and your website, everything will be there. And I tell you, Spirit reminded me of something. What is your term about speeding up your growth? There's a term you use?
Expediting spiritual growth?
Yes. You are there to expedite the spiritual growth, and I love that.
Spiritual growth expediter.
Yes.
I'll tell you where that came from, because I'm with Ozark Mountain. They're my publisher. And once upon a time, there was a guy that was doing the PR for the authors. And he said to me, listen, Sherri, you have to decide what you're going to be. What are you? I thought, well, I'm an author. That's not enough. I have to figure out what I am. Yeah. And so I meditated about it for a long time. And I thought, okay, spiritual growth expediter, because that's what I want for people. Yeah. I want them to expedite their spiritual growth and live their lives with less drama and pain, because that's what I want, and I figure that's what most people want.
And I totally understand that, because every once in a while you're like, what am I? You know, and I don't like labels. Words are just sometimes. That's why I think you and I love animals so much, because we don't have to use words. But finally I said, you know, if you ask me for a simple point, I just say I'm an intuitive soul coach. And that's my favorite way of saying it, because I feel like a coach more than anything, coaching you to get across the bridge, coaching you because I've kind of been there, done it, and a coach usually knows how to do it, and they're going to tell you, coach you along the way. So I love that for me, and I love that spiritual expediter.
Yes, spiritual growth expediter. And you know what? That is truly what Spiritual Toolbox is. It's coaching. It's coaching from people who have done it, who know what they're doing, and in such easy to follow terms, so that you can do it too. Because what most people just don't get, Mitchell, and this is what I so want everybody to understand, what I do, this automatic writing, anybody can do it. Having that direct communication with spirit, whether you do it through automatic writing or channeling or meditation with intent, it's there for all of us, you know. And it starts by listening to the gut, listening to your gut, because that's your higher self who's trying to help you make better choices. And the more we listen, the better choices we make, the easier our lives are. And who doesn't want an easier life?
Yep. So tell us, tell us what's next for you, because I know this is one of the big reasons why you're here, because I get to find out what's next for you.
Okay. Well, my new book is coming out in February. I'm sorry, February? No, December. What? Oh my gosh! I hope it's not really coming out in February. I hope it's out in December.
We want next month.
Yeah. Okay. It's due out in December. We'll see. This is kind of different because I started a Facebook page, and because that is what my publisher wanted me to do, and so I post on there 3 to 5 times a week. And all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, Jeremy said, we'd like to do a little channeling on your Facebook page. And
Nice.
I thought, what? You want to do what? And so Guide Group Fridays started. And almost every Friday, one of my guides channels a message for my Facebook page. I thought, okay, all right, well, this is kind of cool. And everybody on the page just loves it. And from time to time, I see that you share it also sometimes, as do a lot of people.
You know what? And with that being said, I want you, are you sharing that on other groups and pages?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, because I know you share a lot of things. I always share your columns from examiner.com. So somehow I need to make sure I find that on Friday. So if you are... Right. When you post it, if you want to tag me or share on my page, go for it.
Okay. I will definitely do that. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So anyway, we do this for like 2 years, and all of a sudden, again, I think that I'm done with writing books, right? You told me I wasn't. I did not want to believe you. I knew in my heart that it was probably true there was another book because you said it was coming. But all of a sudden, I had this vision of a book cover. And it said Guide Group Fridays on it. And I thought, okay, here we go again. Guide Group Fridays. All right. Then a friend of mine, Jan Cleary, I think that you might know her.
I know Jan.
In Ohio. She emails me and she says, Sherri, I don't know where this is coming from, but I think that you need to take all of those Guide Group Friday messages that you have on Facebook, and you need to make them into a book. And I said, well, you know what, Jan? I said, I just had this vision. Here's the book cover. It said Guide Group Fridays. I just had it like a day ago. Now you're coming to me with this. I don't even need any more confirmation. I'm just going to go. I'm not even going to fight spirit this time. I'm just going to go for it. So then, because I'm not technologically savvy, I'm just somebody who can just sit down and follow instructions. You know what I mean? I did not know how to go back and retrieve all of these messages. So this is something that's really exciting for me. My sister, Debbie Iberg Smith, she said, I'll get them for you. Not only did she go back and retrieve them all, 2 years worth of messages, she put them into chapters for me. She took all the ones about relationship villains, windows of opportunity, figuring out what your journey is, what your mission is, raising vibration. She put them all into chapters. So then all I had to do was in each chapter, I wrote a few pages introducing the material, and then I brought a couple of different people into when it made sense to do it, like Jill LeBeau, Shelley Wilson, a couple of people.
Wow.
So then the book was done, and then we went out and we found some quotes to add to each channeling, each message from the guide group that went with it. And that was it. The book was done. It was the quickest I've ever done a book in my life. It was 2 weeks and it was done. It was done. And so now I'm just waiting. Actually, I've got the final edit in my hands, so it's all waiting on me. I just need to go through, do the final edits, get it back to Ozark, and then they're saying that it'll be out for Christmas. So hopefully that'll be the case. But I just said February, so I don't know where that came from.
Yeah. So it's called, the name of the book is Guide Group Fridays.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, and then everybody can find, what's the best place for people to like click and find you on Facebook for Guide Group Fridays? Well,
right now for Guide Group Fridays, Ozark Mountain is offering a pre-publication special.
Oh, cool.
So you can get the book, you can order the book now for just $12, very cheap. And you can get that on my website. If you go to my website, www.sherricortland.com, in the top, I don't know, left from right, I'm so embarrassed, the top left-hand side, little spot that says Guide Group Fridays, click on that. There'll be information about Guide Group Fridays and a link that will take you over to Ozark Mountain, and you can take advantage of that pre-publication price.
Cool. Very nice. Very nice. Well, I love what's next. That sounds like it'll be fun. So, and somehow I'm going to get that Guide Group Friday linked up to my account. So, but when you post it, just tag me, send me, do whatever we can on Facebook, and we'll get that there. So, Sherri, this has been a blast. I truly have had an amazing time, and I just want to echo again for people, you know, anytime I recommend a book, I always say, you know, go look at this book. Go check this book out, you know, and if it resonates with you, if you're drawn to it, don't hesitate, buy it. Because I've purchased books before that sit on my shelf for a year or two, and when I pick it up, it is exactly what I need at that moment.
Yes.
So, you know, I often don't say you have to buy it. I will say go look at this book. If it resonates, get it. But I tell you, your books absolutely do resonate. And with the people that probably watch this the most, I think many of them will resonate with your books if they haven't already connected with them and bought them themselves. So I look forward to Guide Group Fridays coming out and checking that out.
I'll get you all the info on it. Thank you so much for having me on.
You are welcome. You are welcome. So, everybody, thank you very much. Find Sherri Cortland on Facebook and her personal page, and we will see you at the next one. Namaste, everybody.
Stay.